It's right down to the bone. It looks like it was surgically removed.
All right, this is what I want you to do. We're going to need those handcuffs, Amelia. It's probably our best chance for good prints.
Well, then we can remove them when they get here.
Emmy's all thumbs. They'll mess up the prints. Look in the suitcase. There's a small saw.
Okay.
I want you to saw her hands off at the wrist line. We gotta have those cuffs for prints. Cut her hands off. We need the handcuffs.
I can't, no.
Saw off her hands, take off the cuffs.
I can't.
Listen to me, saw off her, we need those cuffs.
I can't!
Amelia, we need the
No,
cuffs.
fuck you!
Amelia.
All right, kids, we're back. We're here to talk the 1999 film, The Bone Collector. This was a fan request. Now, this fan, I believe his name is Mark, obviously has a lot of respect for me.
So you have fans, Ciaran?
There's nothing.
Is that right?
We got, yeah, he was like just going, my God.
Well, I'll say.
You guys are a breath of fresh air. And if I could hear you guys speak all day, I would love to be, I just would love that because you guys are so good.
I mean that's such changed times, Ciaran, because usually it's people like wanting to kill you. But now you've actually got fans, so good on this Mark guy. Whoever he is.
Yeah, whoever he is, Mark, I appreciate it, but probably you want to stop texting me.
Yeah. I want to stop.
We do have boundaries. But, he did ask us to do the Bone Collector. See, if you guys ask us to do something, we'll do it. We're cool
nice
like
guys,
that.
actually. Well, I am.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. But yeah, it's a pleasant surprise to do this one. It's kind of we got a couple of Denzels under our belt now because we got Denzel for the Gladiator 2, and so there we go, a little back-to-back Denzel. So we talked the Bone Collector. Bone Collector is directed by a man called Philip Noyce, who I am a fan of. He did Salt, Clear and Present Danger, The Saint. Was one of his first outings. Great little indie film called
Patriot Games as well, I think.
Patriot Games, and let me finish. I will be able to tell him that. Fuck me, guys.
How could you be a fan of this guy, Mark?
Patriot Games. Rucker Hauer's Blind Fury, Hidden Gem. If you guys want to see a fun little film, Blind Fury.
I remember watching it as a kid.
Good little film.
Yeah. It's basically about a blind guy going about cutting people up with swords.
Yep, fucking right. What do you need? So this is based on a series of novels by a novelist, Jeffrey Deaver. Yes, this is the first of the book collection, The Bone Collector. It's the first book in the Lincoln Rhyme series. There are several of these books, and I don't know. I'm surprised they never really went back to revisit it as a movie, series. Just because the movie did quite well received, people enjoy it. So I never knew why they didn't go back to that. But maybe that's a Denzel thing. Who knows? But you certainly can replace somebody like Denzel in this role. Now, if you're a fan of The Bone Collector, the film itself, you can see it again as a remake. That's right. The Lincoln Rhyme series was supposed to be a series on TV, kind of like what they did with Reacher just recently. And they redid The Bone Collector. It's called Lincoln Rhyme, The Hint for the Bone Collector. It is available to watch, so you guys should check it out. Doesn't look like they were renewing the series, but if you want to see a different take on this film, I recommend checking it out.
And apparently the series, I haven't seen the series, but apparently it covers some of the other books as well, possibly even them all. Who knows?
Well, yeah. Well, the first miniseries is The Bone Collector.
Okay. Yeah.
And the second series will be another novel. Did you listen to what I say?
I did look up. I did do my homework, as I always do, and I think
you didn't, because they didn't make the other books. This was just based on The Bone Collector.
Right. Well, okay, I'll have to take your word for that. But
they only made one series.
That's okay.
One series is based on the book.
Right?
You know what? You and Mark, man. See, Mark, now you can go and watch one of your favorite movies. Now you can revisit it with the
Exactly.
miniseries, the Hint for the Bone Collector. See, this is a wonderful information we're giving you, and you should be blessed. All right, so we've got Denzel Washington, who plays Lincoln. We got Angelina Jolie. Angelina Jolie was kind of a newcomer. She just did Hackers, and she just got the Oscar for
Yes.
Girl Interrupted. She was Best Supporting Actress. She plays Amelia. Leland Orser as Richard. Terrible casting because I knew right away who the killer was. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, same here, actually.
Michael Rooker, the worst red herring it could be. Captain Howard. Queen Latifah as Thelma, who actually really enjoying this. And always like to see Louis Guzman.
Don't go. Whoa. You've almost forgotten Al Bundy from Married with Children as the boss.
I actually haven't forgotten. You just interrupted me.
Right, makes a change from you interrupting me. But there you go.
We never interrupt you. You fucking interrupt. I'm going through the cast, and you go, wait a minute, that's somebody. Or
How could you forget Al Bundy?
Anyways, Michael McClone as Detective Kenny. And yes, surprise, Ed O'Neill plays Detective.
Yes. Yeah, you got there in the end.
You fucking happy. Fuck me. This is going to be the worst fucking podcast ever. Sorry, Mark. I apologize. Anyways, I do like the beginning. The beginning is quick and short. Obviously, we know pretty much his story is that he's a quadriplegic, and they quickly show how he becomes one. And I do like the fact when he's going into the crime scene, because he's pretty much he's a forensics expert, criminologist, and he has to go to the crime scene before anyone else really touches it so he can, toy with any of the evidence. But I do like the claustrophobic feel. I hate tight spaces. And he's got to go in that tight little space underneath the subway, wherever the fuck he is. And then all you see is the plywood hit his neck.
Be a very good forensics expert because of things like that. I don't like tights. I would get quite claustrophobic, yes. So, yeah. But yes, it sets it up basically how he has become essentially paralyzed.
Yeah. And then it quickly cuts to pretty much the first kidnapping, the douchebag rich couple. So I really didn't give a fuck about them.
Well, the wife wasn't too bad, but the husband was an asshole.
The wife wasn't bad, but she was still a gold digger fucker.
Right.
So
says a lot about you, Ciaran.
I'm in a bad mood. Why
are you in a bad mood?
Because you ruined Mark's day. All your rude interruptions.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so the killer's pretty much a cabbie. He picks up his victims. And that's all you kind of really see. Now, the movie's kind of playing on the success of a couple other films. This time you had these kind of dark thrillers coming out like The Game, David Fincher stuff. David Fincher kind of put this stuff, reinvented the wheel on this with Seven, The Game, and so on. And Zodiac came out.
They were very big in the 90s, these types of thrillers.
Yeah. And that's when Philip Noyce is definitely the man to do it. But what they don't do, it's not gratuitous. And it's not gratuitous in any way. And they don't overdo the violence. And if you do see anything, it's the aftermath.
Yeah, I mean, it is restrained. It's not, I'd agree with that.
And you think that would take away from it, but it doesn't. And the funny thing is, films like this, you kind of want to see the killing and the gore. I certainly do. Nothing beats good killing. But the film really focuses on our boy's journey, Lincoln, and how he wants to pretty much end his life because he has all these seizures, and one of these days, one of these seizures is going to make him a vegetable, put him in a vegetative state. So he asks his good friend, who's the doc, who takes care of him. He's going to come back from a conference and he's going to assist in suicide.
Yeah.
Now, this came out at a time, and this was written in 97, so it was around the same time where you had a man called Dr. Jack Kevorkian making headlines, where he made headlines by performing assisted suicides. He was known as Dr. Death. And so you had this topic was pretty fresh when the book was written and when the movie was made. And it's definitely that gray area with assisted suicides. I'm not going to get political on it. I'm not going to, to each their own, really. It's sad if someone has to come to that kind of decision about their life.
I mean, it's the sort of thing that that I would never sort of who am I to judge? You know what I mean? Because, you know, by the grace of God, I've never actually been in that position. So, you know, who am I to judge people's own, you know, personal walks or decisions? You know, yeah, I'm not sort of going down that road, you know?
Well, when it comes to this film, and I think that's what people need to peel the layer a bit. Yeah, we got the cool stuff, you know, them hunting the killer, but the film is really about him. And the man just sits in a bed the whole time. And it's Denzel who sells this. And then the supporting cast all sell it. They all do very well. They're all his detective buddies and Emilia and Thelma. They're there to protect him and help him. But it's Denzel's performance in this. I mean, he sells it that he doesn't want to be around anymore, especially given the gift that he has before he became a quadriplegic. And you kind of understand where he wants to go, but it's his journey. This one's about his journey and his passion for what he does, being brought back to him with this new case, and how it rejuvenates him to find a light.
And also, obviously, because Denzel can act, so that he very much sells it, even though he's not doing any real physical acting here. Well, we'll get to the finale, of course, soon enough. But yeah, I mean, Denzel can very much do something like this with just basically facial expressions for the bulk of his acting. While
it's a very you like you said, it's a very moving performance considering he can't
exactly.
move.
Yeah, sick bastard that you are. You know, desperate. See what I have to put up with, Mark. You know, whoever you are.
No, he's not listening. He's already ended. He already.
I don't think Mark exists, Ciaran. I think he's just made him up to sound like friends.
He's like he's fucking. Alone. Yeah, I did two fake marks. That's what I did. Two fake marks. The first mark me knew. He's still yelling at us because we're supposed to do Silence of the Lambs, and I finally told him that we're going to do Silence of the Lambs, but we got to do it as a box set. So. He's going to have to fucking wait. So fucking wait.
Patience.
All right. So we meet Emilia, and pretty much she's, stopping the train, getting the crime scene, taking photos and so forth. And this is where she finds the hand of the dead husband, the ring fingers, boned, we won't go into the details. And then you got Michael Rooker, who's her captain, comes on board and always was a dick to her. Now, I like Michael Rooker, and this is nothing against him. This is the way the character is written. The problem I have with this is, it's a terrible red herring. But I believe you're supposed to believe he's trying to distract them from solving the case. But he's not. He used to be involved in the original case. They find out this guy's killed before. And he was the investigative officer of that case.
I think so, but he didn't solve the case, obviously. So maybe it's sort of
and that's why he
suggested that there's a bit of resentment there towards Lincoln, and maybe self resentment for not getting it. I think I could be wrong.
Well, that's what bothers me about it. Here's a guy; he's the captain now. He could have solved a case, and now he's not going to let these guys solve
like a
it.
child in a playground.
I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, I don't get that. Or was he trying to take credit? Like he was always one step there. He was always there when they were one step ahead of him. He'd show up.
So he was prepared.
I wasn't sure if he
basically let people die at the hands of the killer just to save face. So yeah, it's a bit ridiculous.
No, I think he was there. I don't think he was. No, I don't think he was that. I think he was trying. Yeah, you're supposed to think. He's
exactly. I thought he was,
or in cahoots because he's. No, I didn't see that, but that's how I think this character is poorly written, because the whole time I think what he was trying to do, he was intervening so he could jump over, take over the case, and solve the crime.
Possibly, yes. Well, actually, that's a better explanation.
Ego, yes, it's an ego.
Yeah, 100%. But regarding, it was him. In my head, it was either him was the killer, or it was the other guy who actually was a killer. So yes, it was a bit. I like Rooker, but it's just, and it could be very much down to the writing. But there was just,
it's not his fault.
Character just didn't work.
This could
easily have been taken out of the film completely, and he wouldn't have been missed.
Well, what they should have done was take him down a notch. Don't have him in as much. Because in the beginning, we're already introduced to the killer. Spoiler alert, people. We're already introduced to a guy who played killers in the past, in the 90s. He's Richard, the technician. And so you've got Leland Orser, you got Michael Rooker, you've got, I don't know, you don't really need to pepper in too many,
there aren't that many anyway. Yeah.
Those two would have been enough. The problem is the Leland Orser character, Richard, is barely in it. He's only in the beginning. And the Michael Rooker's in it too much. So process of elimination, you're not going to go for the one they're fucking, pummeling you with. You're going to pick
obvious.
Richard.
Yeah.
It's too obvious. And that does take away from the little mystery of it. The mystery here and the rhyme and reason for the crimes, we'll get into it. Like I said, guys, the movie really focuses more on Denzel's journey, and the backstory is the kind of side story is the killer. That's the way I'm looking at this film.
Yes, basically the killings are, and the case is more of a plot device overall for basically Lincoln and Amelia to get together, and his journey from being basically wanting to euthanize himself to basically being given one or two very good reasons to live again. Yeah, it's about his journey.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've got the scene where he has his first seizure, and Queen Latifah was very good here too, but Denzel is obviously selling it the most. But he obviously, you see what he can't breathe, and this is where one of these days it's gonna eventually, he's gonna eventually take over him. But he survives it, and it is because Paulie and Detective Kenny show up, and they show him these pictures, and he starts really getting into it. He doesn't want to at first, but he starts getting into it, and then his blood starts, starts racing, and he starts sweating, and that causes the seizures. But after the seizures, the next scene, they left the pictures and everything there. He starts looking at the pictures, and then you see Thelma giving him, kind of giving herself a little smirk, a little smile to herself, because she sees him.
Yeah, it's giving him
wanting to do something, giving him hope and something to do rather than try to.
It's giving him a new lease of life, essentially.
Yeah, I like that element of it. We talk about films that give you a couple of different genres in it, and this kind of does that. It does play, it's kind of like, I know it's apples to oranges, The Descent. The Descent, you go in there and you want to go see a horror film. Here we're going to see like a movie like Seven, but for half the film, it's more of a claustrophobic adventure film than it is a horror film. This kind of does the same thing. It's a drama about a man who is dealing with being a quadriplegic, and he's missing what he used to do. And then and then we get involved in this serial killing. I do like that films that do that. And this one does it quite well. I was
thinking of The Descent as well whenever I was watching certain scenes. In fact, even talking about that opening scene where we find out, how Lincoln became paralyzed and stuff, that whole claustrophobic thing, and some of the scenes with the serial killer with his victims did actually remind me a bit, not too much, but of The Descent.
So you have this, he likes Amelia because of the way she handled the pictures and stuff for the first crime scene.
I think her character's ridiculous.
And I thought that because I thought she was kind of a whiny little
not
brat.
Even that,
But at the end of the day, she's kind of on the same journey as he is, because he's trying to teach her something. She's kind of cocky and arrogant, and has a past because her father took his own life. And here's a man who wants to take his own life. And so I know I kind of like, I will say this. I like Angelina Jolie. I like her very much, actually.
No. You remember what the judge told you,
Ciaran? Yeah, restraining order's been lifted. But she's a little wet beyond the edge.
I think no, it's not so much her. She's okay.
I think,
but the character is an ex-model turned street cop who happens to be a secret forensics expert that she doesn't even know herself about. Yeah, right. It's just a bit too much.
No, that's not fair. The model thing is kind of funny, but no, she didn't want that role. Her instinct just made her stop the train, take the pictures, and he knew that. So that's why Lincoln took her on board. She has that instinct. She doesn't want to be a forensic
Yes, I know
criminologist.
that. I know that.
She says that.
But it's
so no, that's not fair to judge the character on that. I'm
it's
saying
too convenient for the plot for me.
No, I'm okay with that. I just have a problem with her, and she gets better as the movie goes on, as she becomes more likable, I guess you can say, because I don't like her. But at the time, there was another actress who would have probably been better for this, and I think would be Ashley.
Yeah, but she was quite big at during this period, and yeah. Angelina Jolie here is, I mean, she's all right, but I have no problem with the character being a little bit cocky and, unlikable. But, I mean, again, I like Angelina Jolie, and I just wasn't 100. I think maybe the problem is she's playing alongside Denzel Washington, and it was early in their career at the time, so maybe he...
whip you on the air, fish out of water, maybe. Mm-hmm. But that's going to happen. And I'm not, she gets better as the film goes. And maybe that's the way the character was written and she was directed.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to be unlikable. You're being very abrupt to a man who's trying to help you, steer your career in the right direction. And you're being, and maybe she did sell it. Maybe the way I don't like her is the way we're supposed to perceive her. Because at the end of the film, I kind of like her. So maybe that's
completely convinced.
Okay, whatever. Son of my girl. Pretty Angelina. You're
see,
so
this is the
pretty.
Stuff that the restraining order was put in force for. Ciaran, you're selling yourself short here. You know what I mean? Someone's going to report this. Mark will probably report it. Actually, Mark, be a good lad there and report him.
So when she goes to her second crime scene, that is, Mrs. Rubens let out some steam, Bennett. let out some steam, Mrs. Rubin. That was a good one. Too bad we didn't see it hit her face.
Yeah, I like a bit of, I'm not a sicko like you, but like you've just actually stated indirectly. But, sometimes, it's a delicate balance, of showing too much and not showing enough. And I think here, I would like to have seen more.
No. What should have happened is when she's in the crime scene and she's walking in by herself and she's, doing her thing and he's trying to help her look for blah, 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 look for, clues and whatnot. And if she goes up to the body and she's still alive and she's
like in Seven.
And she's like, like Seven.
Really,
like you deserve what you got.
Yeah.
When you leads to him, you deserved everything you got. He's like, awesome.
I mean, they're sort of riffing on Seven anyway with this film, so they might as well have done something like that. I would say even here with the whole, Lincoln and Amelia, the sort of mentor and, mentoring the younger rookie. It also called to mind for me Hannibal Lecter and Clarice Starling in The Silence of the Lambs.
I got more Seven with free.
I think there's a bit of both going on along with other stuff.
And you know what? There's nothing wrong with it. And the writers made it as the writers made it its own.
Well, I mean,
we talk about we talk about Tarantino doing that every film. I think, but I would never take that away from the writer.
No, it's an original script, but I definitely think there's certain inspirations here, like Silence of the Lambs, Rear Window, Seven, stuff like that. So, but it definitely got a sort of Hannibal Lecter and Clarice Starling, Silence of the Lambs vibe between their relationship.
You always have a Hannibal Lecter and a Starling reference in everything you do. We could be talking fucking dumb. We could be talking dumb and dumber. And you'd be like, yeah, you know what these two remind me of? It's very Lovecraftian, but at the same time, it's got a very sensitive landscape.
What? I very, very rarely
would
make Hannibal Lecter references.
Everybody who listens to this podcast knows it's Lovecraft, fucking Doctor Who, Neighbors, or fucking Silence of the Lambs.
Did you notice the Doctor Who reference
and Lynch. Okay, no,
Oh,
there's no
there's a
Doctor Who
massive
reference.
one?
You fuck, go
Nah, I'm
fuck
only
yourself.
joking. I'm only winding you up.
No, there isn't. Yeah, I know there isn't.
But there's an
I know
alien
there isn't.
resurrection. Well,
I wish they tie you up to a fucking steam.
let's have some steam, Ciaran.
Yeah, so steam by it.
Sorry, you all right there?
Okay, so she finds a bone, a feather,
Yeah.
and some hair. The clues are kind of the paper I get. The paper I
Yeah.
get for the clues because they make
They're
that
making
they make
yes,
the image,
but like a puzzle.
but I do think how they kind of dissect the bone. Oh, the bone is from a cow hide, blah blah blah, and blah blah.
The asbestos.
And then they of all these asbestos, and I guess if you have a team helping you, you get it. But I think some of it's kind of like,
I just
really?
didn't find
You
it
figured
very
this out?
interesting, to be honest with you. You know, like it.
Yeah, I wanted more of a puzzle that we could figure out too.
Well, you know the way in Silence, again, riffing on Silence of the Lambs with the. No,
here we go.
But, you know, with the whole they had the moths in Silence of the Lambs. That was the clues. Where Buffalo Bill was leaving the moths, and it's about Hannibal Lecter's breaking. Hannibal Lecter knows anyway, but he's sort of giving her subtle clues about it's about rebirth. So there's all that sort of thing going on here as well with the clues that are left, and obviously it's finally revealed towards the end in the bookshop.
Yeah, I will say this. That's where the story kind of falls flat. And it's a big one. But again, I'm more intrigued with the Denzel character.
Yeah,
than anything else.
I think he saves the film.
He is the film. Period. He is the film. That's why the whole series is based on him. And I just feel that the clues, a good mystery, a good whodunit or clues, the audience should be able to take those three clues and kind of figure it out for themselves.
But it's good to be surprised as well.
These guys are putting a piece of bone in a computer and they're like, oh yeah, that's from a cow's ass from the old mill back down in blah blah. Well, how am I supposed to?
And more importantly,
you know what I mean?
Why should I give a shit? you know.
Well, no, I mean you do want to catch the fucker.
Yeah,
but. Wow, you don't want a serial killer to be caught? That's sick.
Not as sick as you. I'm stalking Angelina Jolie. You know, but
that's water under the bridge.
You served your time. You know, you've moved on.
I do like when she's got she's got to look. She's looking around the scene and she gets the feather, the hair, and the bone, and then he's like, okay. Now get something to cut the handcuffs. Yeah. All right. Now I need you to cut off her hands.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Go fuck yourself. We're done."
This is him sort of testing her. Well, I mean, obviously, there's a point to it. He's not just being sick for the sake of it. There is a point to it.
But then, but there's the captain again.
Yes.
Smirking because she can't cut the hands off. I'm like, why are you smirking? Help her. Go cut the hands off.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I don't like when we watch this. That man should have been in there to help her. Go, listen, let him be a dick for a while and then realize, what, I got to help her.
Yeah.
Give that character some kind of an arc here. Don't be a dick.
This is the problem as well. While I actually like dicks and assholes in films, fuck me, that didn't. Well, no, I'm talking about in terms of people's personality.
Oh, best comment you've ever said ever.
Right. Let me just clarify,
Trevor. I apologize. We're watching The Bone Collector, not The Boner Collector.
Right. Let me just clarify. I'm talking about people who are idiots in films, who are unlikable. I'm not talking about physical dicks and assholes. Right. Anyway. yeah. I mean, I set myself right up there. So then,
best moment ever. Mark, thank you.
Right. Anyway, move swiftly on. I just like to correct myself. I like unlikable characters in films, but there has to be a payoff in terms of they have to get their comeuppance in some way. Yes, he does get bumped off by the killer, and he uses a red herring, but you don't even see it on screen. So there's no.
I hated that. That was a cheat. Yes, I fucking hate that.
You don't even see it on screen. So for the audience, as an audience member, I'm still laughing at that earlier one. That was completely unintentional, by the way. And as soon as I say it, hear me out. But anyway, yes. Yes, there was no real payoff with that character's journey. And again, not Rooker's fault. Rooker's a journeyman actor, you know what I mean? He's been in all sorts over the years, and he still is, you know, so it's not his fault.
I mean, you get the guy who played Henry the Portsmouth serial killer. I understand why you want to make him a red herring. Spoiler, he's also the killer in Sea of Love. And I get that. And you've got Leland Larcher, who's known for playing, Mad Men. I understand that. He's also in Seven. But at the end of the day, when the killer is revealed and why he's doing it, it's kind of
it's stupid. Yeah.
And the twist should have been something like, well, we'll dig a little deeper into the twist. We'll get to the ending here.
There's another victim as well. You know, the sort of college guy.
Yeah, that poor bastard got the worst, man. He gets eaten alive by rats.
Yeah, that was pretty, straight out of a horror story, essentially.
Yeah, because that's where they got the clues that the last one, the steam victim, because they found it's an old meat factory because the bone was from some kind of a cow, and the hair was from rats.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they kind of figured out. And there's an old dwelling here that would suit, the purpose of whatever he wants to do next.
And so eventually they solved the clue of basically the image, where it's basically of an old publisher. So that's whenever she runs and gets the book, The Bone Collector, and they sort of break it down. But in the meantime, before the ending, there's also 2 potential new victims, which is the grandfather and his granddaughter, who's kidnapped.
Yeah. Let's talk about, though, as they're trying to solve where the kid is, the one who gets eaten by the rats, they're solving it. They got moments. They got only, moments to try to save this kid's life. And again, there he is, a Lincoln, and he's getting overexcited, and he's starting to sweat. And Thelma tells him, you need to relax. And there's a scene where you see all the cops, the main cops that we know that he's friends with, looking, pretty much big close-ups of him as this is happening. It's actually a nice shot where they're finally, they see him as a quadriplegic, but when he has one of these attacks in front of them,
leaves him very vulnerable.
It's an eye opener. I think it's an eye opener for them to see what
he's going through.
Mentor, I guess you can say, what their mentor is going through.
Yeah. And again, Denzel carries this film, and he carries it so well. He's not doing he is doing physical acting, but from a bed. So,
Exactly. It's kind of like with
Jimmy Stewart, Rear Window.
Jimmy Stewart, Rear Window. Yeah, that's a perfect example. What was I thinking of? I can't remember now.
Misery. James Caan and Misery.
James Caan, Misery.
RoboCop, what are you talking about, RoboCop?
He's a robot. I don't know.
No, well, I suppose with RoboCop, it's Peter Weller's in a suit the whole time.
See, yeah,
so he's not doing. He's doing a lot of but that's the opposite. He's doing more physical acting. You know what I mean? But RoboCop, what the fuck?
But anyways,
yeah. But I would say what did piss me off, not piss me off in a bad way, but during the finale, despite all this great acting by Denzel, basically with his eyes and his face, essentially, whenever he turns into a paraplegic Rambo at the end and still beats the bad guy in a fight, that was a bit ridiculous, I felt.
Well, let's get to that. We're jumping ahead now because we still have the clue at where the rats were, where he found the matchbox and another piece of paper. Now the piece of paper they're getting is going to be the final. They'll figure it out. That's where I have a massive problem. And then Captain fucking Doofus shows up and he's, give me all the evidence. I'm taking over. Like, what are you talking about? They're solving this. Take all the equipment away. Take all of his equipment away. Listen, like, why would you do this? They're solving the crime.
No rational.
This doesn't make any sense to me.
You know what I mean?
Nobody would do this.
Yeah. and it's really convoluted way of setting up him as a red herring. You know, it is. It's sort of it's daft.
Well, she removes the
Yes.
evidence she
She
takes
goes
the piece of
renegade.
paper that she finds. Yeah.
You don't play by
go
the
girl.
rules, you know. That's it.
And, yeah, she's no Martin Riggs. So, and he smells the paper,
Yes.
and he smells oil, and they put the piece together. Oil. Oh, that's really the oil the old what do you call it? With the gasoline on the
docks.
boats,
Yeah.
in the harbor, down the docks. Yeah, that he kind of puts that piece together, and I don't know. I just think it's a weird scene. It's just kind of now he's a bloodhound, and that's like, I mean, I know the guy's good, but
ultimately this is I think it's quite weakly directed. It's almost like it's very sort of run of the mill direction, and that whenever these big plot points are happening or twists or whatever, you're going, oh right, you're just saying, oh okay, I'm still sort of kind of invested, but you're not sort of blown away, you know, as you would have been with similar films of this type, like Seven or The Game, or even, you know, The Silence of the Lambs.
there's some odd moments I don't like with it, where they're alone and they're, you know, trying to solve the crime. She leans over to help him with something. Oh no, she spills the paper on his chest, and she's trying to get the paper off his chest, whatever. And he's smelling her hair and looking at her. I was like, this is kind of awkward.
Quite
what
contrived.
The fuck?
And
you know, it doesn't seem right. I thought you took this girl under your wing to mentor her. You appreciate.
I know.
No, seriously, and he's there to. But then all of a sudden, he's got romantic interest.
He's sniffing her hair.
He can't have physical. Well, you know what I mean. It doesn't seem right for the character to do that. Is it just to make him seem, because he seemed kind of vulnerable to him too? I was like,
I think it's more. It could be. I haven't read the novel that this is based on, but it sounds like it could be a studio note where there has to be a romantic element to it. You know, like the last podcast we talked about Tombstone. You know, with Josephine and Wyatt Earp. You know, maybe these things.
Yeah, but I think this is subtly done. I don't think Angelina Jolie's playing it for love. I don't think he is either.
It's for love.
I think he's just kind of. They're not together at the end.
Yes.
Are they?
Sure. The final scene. It's Christmas, and she saved him. He hasn't killed himself.
Yeah, but they're just friends.
No. They're more than friends. But like, to be fair, like you say, it's subtly done, where it's done with something like they like look at each other in the eyes and then they hold hands. So it's subtly done. What were you expecting them to shag or something? Sort of like jump his bones?
Well, no. I just think it's just. No, you know what? Good on them. Way to go, Denzel.
But no, they definitely become an item.
So Denzel can get her, but I'm just
You're probably just jealous because
I don't think so. I think they're just friends.
No, they're not. They're much more than friends. And she's even reunited him with his sister and all. So I know, but it's just because it's not sort of, you know.
I think it's a father figure.
Well, that makes it quite creepy, to be honest. You saying that?
No, it's a father figure. Her father was a cop. He committed suicide.
Yes,
she's got.
But they're definitely romantically linked.
But there's no romantic. There's no romantic. I don't think there is.
They're together.
Well, maybe the miniseries will explain that.
Or the book. Yeah.
There you go. So the final one, this is the father and I think it's the grandfather and the daughter. Yeah. It's the grandfather and the granddaughter, and the cop stops him and he shoots the cop. I thought, oh man, it almost seems like they rushed this part of it.
Feels like that.
And I was like, why is he stopping the cab? They finally say they have that in certain areas. You'll have what they call a cop who's actually a taxi inspector. So he stops them because I didn't know this. If you have people in your car and you don't have the meter on or the sign saying cab taken or whatever, that's
definitely a thing. I mean, that can happen. That can happen here in Belfast. I mean, I don't know how much, how often it does happen, but if a taxi driver isn't licensed or doesn't have the sign on top of his taxi, he could very much get pulled over by the cops. That's not an American thing. That's here in Belfast as well.
So they got the three pieces of paper together, and it's a logo. It's a logo of an old publishing logo that used to do old
Pulp
crime
Fiction.
stories.
It was like old pulpy
And he goes, we need
stuff,
to find. Yeah. So she goes to a bookstore and finds one. Oh, there it is. And it's one with the logo on it, and it happens to be the Bone Collector.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to get my point, I thought that was kind of the first book. Yeah.
Too much
way
of this
too
convenience
convenient.
overall.
Yeah. But I'm entertained.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm entertained still because I like Denzel and I like the other characters. I like Thelma. And this is where Angelina Jolie, once she kind of gets her head out of her ass, she kind of, and she's kind of liking what she's doing, getting into the role. That's where I start liking her.
I will agree that she definitely does improve over the course of the film.
Yeah. I just thought that was like a diamond in the rough kind of investigation.
I just didn't buy her as
really
a sort of sassy street cop.
No, I meant the source of the book.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the bookstore. I'll go in here.
Yeah, there are some plot conveniences here. I mean, there's a few too many of them, to be honest with you. But yes, I mean, you know, that works, but it is convenient.
And then when and the one book that they find that has a publishing logo is the right one. And she opens the pictures, and the pictures look just like the deaths that were set up, the steam pipe, the rats, and she sees the harbor, the people drowning in the water. So she knows they're at the harbor somewhere, and that's where he puts the pieces together. The petrol smell, that must be from the harbor where they refueled boats and shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. The old man doesn't make it. Fuck, who cares? He's old.
But well, right, that's nice. But no. But once we get to this sort of final fight with the real serial killer and Denzel, that did wind me up a bit in terms of he does the whole James Bond villain thing where instead of killing Denzel, he reveals his diabolical plan to him. You know, if it hadn't been for you, and basically it's about revenge against Denzel for basically getting him scooped a lot of years before. And then also a man who doesn't have the part of his legs or his arms can basically beat up a villain,
No, I'm okay with that.
I'm not really. I mean, it's all right. Again, too convenient.
I am. I like the fact. Yeah, he destroyed his life because he was tinkering up with evidence or something like that. And he's like, I did 6 years. You know what they do to men in prison, and cops in prison? They brutalize me. You probably fit right in there, Trevor, with your assholes and dicks. So you got a pretty mouth, Trevor. Have you seen Silence of the Lambs?
Yeah. I'm never going to live that. I'm never going to live this.
You'd have the perfect cellmate.
And I'm not talking about the Silence of the Lambs one.
No. No. This is the best. No, I don't mind this because he struggles and he uses what he can. And I love the fact he takes a big chunk out of his neck.
Well,
that is awesome.
It has a good sort of bit of gore and sort of violence and stuff, but it does. And what is set up as a very supposedly a serious film would do get down the route of the sort of Bond villain, the campy Bond villain, like in Moonraker, explaining his diabolical plan.
I don't think. I think no. This isn't camp.
No, but he still does the same thing.
I would.
Where instead of killing,
James Bond is camp. They're playing it for camp.
Not all James Bonds, but some is.
This is done.
But no.
I mean, you got to realize. I mean, I don't like the fact that they killed the captain off camera.
Yes, I would like to
saw a
see
struggle
that.
between them, him and because that's not fair to Michael Rooker. And if you see him struggling, trying to save,
it's a redemption. It becomes a redemption
Lincoln
arc then for him.
Exactly. That's what we needed for him, and that would have taken 5 minutes to give us that shot. And I do like the fact. They killed Thelma.
Well, that was quite. To be fair, he has very little to do anyway. So
it's not fun, but I liked the character. And when she got stabbed, I was like, so the next scene's the Christmas scene. I was waiting for her to see her, but no, she
didn't survive it. Yeah,
she's dead.
Yeah. No. Yeah. When I say in terms of, I mean, not all Bonds are campy. Some of them are done very gritty and serious, especially the Dalton and
No, you're talking about the Dalton Craig, but when people think Bond
Yeah,
villain,
I'm
they
thinking-
don't think that. They
But
think
yes,
Doctor No.
but in terms of what I'm talking, although it's played serious here, he still does make the stupid mistake of, instead of killing Denzel, he explains his plan to him and why he's there to kill him, instead of just killing him. You know,
Well, I'm okay with that because you want
it's a
because
cliche,
of
but
what he went through. He needs to tell
yeah,
him
I know,
why
but
he's
it
here.
is a bit of a cliche, and it's another convenience.
It's not a cliche. I mean, I get why a killer would do that. If you have like a spy who's trying to destroy your plan, and he's got now Bond, I'm going
Yes.
to tell you my plan. That I get, but this man there has a personal vendetta against this man. He's going to tell him because that's the whole purpose
Yeah.
of a vendetta. You want to look that person in the eye and tell him why
Well-
you've done this. That makes
Well,
more sense
maybe
for him
if
to do
he
that.
hadn't have bothered doing that and just killed Denzel, he might have got away with it all. But no, he bollocksed about.
No, that wouldn't be the mentality. Your mentality wouldn't be that. Your mentality is to show him and tell him why you lost and why
I don't
have
know
done
how
this.
serial killers or
That's the whole
murderers think.
point of
Clearly,
getting
you
e-
do.
That's the whole point
you
of
know?
revenge. That's the whole point of
Yeah.
getting revenge, is to be able to let that person know
Yeah.
it was you. It defeats the
Okay,
purpose.
Mr. Fucking mind of a killer.
Yeah, fucking right. Fucking right. All right. Yeah, we tore this film pretty good, but
And it's good.
it's still
Yeah.
fucking entertainment. I watched it. I really enjoy it. It's a great little film. I would like to have seen more, but I don't know what happened there. But
It is good.
check it out, guys. It's good
It is
time.
good.
It's time.
I enjoyed it. I was entertained and I found it good. I just wasn't blown away, to be fair.
That's a fair assessment. Mark, thank you for the shout out. All joking aside, we do appreciate you
Thank you, Mark.
reaching out to us and giving your your
Yep.
pick. And yeah, so anyone else wants us to do some picks, always give us a shout. You got to give us a shout at Citizen Frame Facebook or at Citizen Frame _podcast on Instagram. It's the only way we'll do it, not personal. So if you want us to tackle something, give us a shout, even if it's something really batshit crazy. But keep in mind, don't be offended because we'll probably hate it. Or I will. Fucking freak boy over here probably would love it. Oh my God. It's atmospheric and magic.
Well, I can think of several.
He was in Neighbors.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We're going to wrap this one up. The new issue of Phantasmagoria is out now. It is the Irish folk horror.
Well, I mean, it's sort of Irish horror and fantasy in general. So, a lot of, as per usual, a great mix of, interviews with big names and sort of articles and reviews, artwork, and all the rest. So check it out. From available right across the world from Amazon, and soon at a launch event in Belfast, Forbidden Planet on Good Friday.
There you go.
Cool.
Yeah. So there you go. Guys, thanks for giving us a shout. Next up is The Hitcher. See you later.